All week long, KPIX 5, CBS News will be teaming up on a special series for Earth Day, Eye on Earth, our planet in peril. And tonight, a new proposal to drill for natural gas in the East Bay has environmentalists outraged. And not just because it's a polluting fossil fuel. Our Alan Martin uncovers why it's the location that has people really upset.
Take a look around. There are no houses, no freeways for miles in this part of the Bay Area. In fact, the only neighbors here are duck hunting clubs. But what could happen here is causing an uproar. That's because this is the Suisun Marsh, the largest marshland on the West Coast, and a highly protected natural habitat for migrating birds and fish and wildlife.
You gotta be kidding.
That was Elizabeth Patterson's first reaction when she found out about a plan to drill for gas in the middle of the Suisun Marsh. And the former mayor of Benicia isn't the only one.
Nothing about this project makes any sense.
A dozen environmental and community groups have submitted a letter opposing a plan by Sunset Explorations based in Brentwood to build an acre pad on private property in the marsh and drill an exploratory gas well there.
95% of the wetlands in California have been destroyed. So we only have 5% left, and it ought to be nurtured and taken care of and not threatened.
At a time when we should be moving away from dirty fossil fuels, why would we be expanding into new projects?
Opponents say drilling in the marsh could not only endanger fish and wildlife, it will also cause pollution that will impact surrounding communities like Suisun City, Fairfield, Vallejo, and Benicia, already suffering health effects from nearby refineries. But Bob Nunn, the CEO of Sunset Explorations, begs to differ.
We're impacting 1 acre of wetlands, and the requirement is that we then have to create 3 times more than that. There's a net gain to the environment here.
The 116,000-acre marsh sits over a large and still productive gas field. According to a state map, most of the wells in the area are capped, but a few are still active, altogether producing billions of cubic feet of gas a year. Nunn told us he sees potential to produce billions more by reviving a capped well in the Suisun Slough on the southern end of the marsh. He says it will benefit rather than harm nearby disadvantaged communities.
If you're not producing oil and gas here in California, you're bringing it from dirtier sources, right? You're creating less jobs in California, less tax base.
And he argues the risk of spills is lower than the current status quo of natural gas imports.
Instead of us building 1.5 miles of brand new pipeline, we're going to bring natural gas from 3,000 miles away. Well, okay. Well, want to compare the leak comparisons between 3,000 miles of natural gas pipeline versus 1.5 miles? Well, I think we hold up pretty well in that argument.
But critics don't buy it.
We shouldn't be debating where our dirty fossil fuel comes from. We need to move beyond that and think about how to move toward a future that is more sustainable and safer and prioritizes our health over industry profits.
There's no compromise here. I mean, absolutely no compromise. We've compromised wetlands up and down the state, and this is the last place to compromise.
It's not going to be a quick decision. Before the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers can sign off on the project, the Bay Conservation and Development Commission and potentially many other state and local agencies can oppose it and may require stricter environmental reviews. And the pressure is on. Even the California Attorney General has weighed in, saying in this letter to the Army Corps that the marsh is a unique and irreplaceable natural resource that is important to the state and to the nation as a whole.
That was a highly unusual letter at this point in a public process. Borderline inappropriate, quite frankly.
You've been doing this a while.
Yeah.
Not your first rodeo, as they say, right?
Yeah, but the rodeo's getting harder. Not only are you in the rodeo, riding the bucking bronco, but, the crowd's throwing rocks at you at the same time.
Bob Nunn says if the going gets too costly, he may just back off.
This is a very small project on 1 acre. If you make it so incredibly difficult, we'll just move on.
The owner of the duck club where Nunn plans to drill didn't want to go on camera, but did tell us he will make money from the deal. Much of the marsh is, in fact, privately owned by duck hunting clubs, but we couldn't find any that wanted to comment on this story. In the Suisun Marsh, Alan Martin, KPIX 5.
Eye on Earth special coverage continues tomorrow on CBS This Morning with a look at the world's first carbon-neutral vegan pro sports franchise. That all starts at 7 right here on KPIX 5.